We are back. Here we are.
Capital Cities on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS, safe and sound. Also, the theme for the BalaCore Fitness Show. Is that right? BalaCore Fitness Show?
Yeah, BalaCore Fitness Show. Here we are, Ellen Como and George Cummings today, and we're talking about fitness. And usually it's always women talk about fitness, and I'm so glad I have a man's perspective here. George is here to talk about a man's perspective in fitness. So we were talking about nutrition in the first half of the show, and I'm just going to leave it at that in a way that if you are trying to change your nutrition, you're trying to eat better, don't try to do it overnight. Make sure you get educated. Sit down with someone. Go over a healthy, balanced nutrition. The good news is we've come so far. You can have a hamburger and it's still going to be considered a good, healthy meal as long as you put it together the right way. So that's it. You can have the hamburger and eat it too now. So you're allowed to have that. You're allowed to have so many things that we have been eliminating out of our nutrition for far too long. We're really figuring out that you can eat balanced in a great way, just making sure that you are controlling your portions and food, like a foodie nutrition. So it's there, it's coming, and we're finding that that the fitness industry is heading more in that direction. So it's exciting.
Well, I'm always thinking about those sitcoms from like the 50s and 60s where they have to lose weight, so they have the little teeny portions of food. I'm thinking like I Love Lucy or whatever.
Yes.
That's always really bad for you, right? You shouldn't necessarily cut the portions to starve yourself of calories.
You shouldn't ever be starving.
Right.
Ever be starving. But you also want to keep your portions to a healthy, to a healthy size.
Right.
For men, 5-6 ounces of protein, maybe a half a cup of grain, and you can do 2/3 to a cup of vegetables, or you can actually do up to 2 cups of vegetables for a guy. That's a lot for you.
Yeah.
Way too much. It depends on the vegetable. 2 cups of peas is kind of ridiculous. So It depends on the vegetable. You have to use your common sense as well. But the real good indicator and really easy indicator to know what your size for your portions are, if you take your hand and cut off your fingers and your thumb and look at right just the palm, not literally, and look at the palm, the actual thickness of it and size of it. That should be the size of your protein. Because most of our hands match our bodies. See, that's probably about the size that you eat. So, but you also have to look at the thickness too. And then if you take your 2 hands and cup them together, that's going to be your vegetables. And then the 1 hand cup would be your grain.
Okay.
So it's something you can eye and do. It's that easy. And then your fat should be about your pinky. So, or whatever should be.
So I noticed, like, you have a lot of terms that, since I've come to know you, that like BalaCore and the other one that you're doing right now, that is the kind of the menopause.
Parley Fit.
All these wonderful different things that I've never heard of.
Uh-huh.
And so we talked about this before, where you have pretty much spent your whole working life in fitness.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've seen a lot of the trends come and go. You've seen the things that actually work all over in the past X amount of years that you've been doing this.
Uh-huh.
And so tell me, what has been the trend that what's the mainstay in what should, even somebody who's not really a fitness type person, what should they be doing?
The first thing you should be doing is lifting weights, and that doesn't mean bodybuilding. You don't have to be the size of Arnold Schwarzenegger when he was at his largest level. You can lift weights every single day and stay lean, stay fit, have a good muscular, balanced body. Why we need to lift weights and free weights. You can have a bar. A bar is great. Like you have, weight bar. But when you have a weight bar, what happens is your stronger arm's always going to take over for your weak arm. And the bands.
We're talking about the
actual long curl bars.
Right.
And then the bands, what the bands do, it's interesting. We've seen those elastic bands at the gyms, and those are great for muscle, but they don't get your bone density. And as we age, we need to keep our bone density up, because that's what leads to osteoporosis. If your bone density starts to break, get more fragile.
And that's not just a female thing either.
No, that is absolutely. That's male and female. So both male and female at all ages, especially in their 40s, 50s, and beyond, should be lifting weights. That doesn't mean they have to lift heavy weights, but they should be lifting weights in proper form and technique. And if they do that, they're going to keep their muscle mass up and their bone density
When
up.
we talk about free weights, what do you mean by free weights?
The dumbbells.
Okay.
The dumbbells are free weights. And dumbbells, you're going to have one in each hand. So you can't cheat. One hand can't take over for the other hand. So you always want to make sure that if you do use a bar, that you also use free weights as well, meaning dumbbells separate from one another. So that's one thing that everybody should be lifting weights in some way, some form. And then there's also cardio. Cardio is separate. Now, cardio would be anything. Walking is cardio. Running is cardio. Cardio is anything that elevates your heart rate. So let's say you're running up the stairs. That's cardio. It could be when we're sitting here and we go to stand up, our heart rate goes up. Our cardio, that is the actual definition of cardio, whenever the heart comes up. So that's it. But you want to make sure your cardio is prolonged. So you want to make sure you're getting at least 30 minutes. They're saying, and this is where I'm when I'm seeing, and I've been working with people over the years, cardio 3 days a week, 30 to 45 minutes, and resistance training 3 days a week at about 45 to 50 minutes, almost an hour, because it takes a little bit longer to weight train than it does to do cardio. If you do that, that's a really healthy and perfect schedule. Now, if you want to add something to it, that's when you'd add your yoga on that 6th day or 7th day, because yoga is going to take you more to relaxation. You're using your body as your resistance. So that's, you're getting your resistance training, but you're just doing it a little bit differently. It's with your body. Pilates, you're using a lot of core. And with Pilates, you're also using a lot of cables and things. Cables, again, are very good for our muscles. They do get some of the way that it's set up, a little bit more of the bone density, not as much as the free weights. And it also depends on who is walking in the door. Is it someone that has had a major car accident or has had really bad back problems or knee problems? And, a few years ago, everybody decided that if you have back problems, it's because your stomach is too weak. That's part of the equation. There's more to that. If you have a sore lower back or a lower back that's giving you, constant issues and you're throwing it out all the time, you're going to notice that your glute muscles are probably not firing. And that is what is part of the problem. So you need to have a strong glute and a strong stomach.
And the glute, we're talking about what we sit on, basically, right?
Yeah, what we're sitting on, the butt, the glute, the fanny, the booty, all those words that we can use for it. Our glute was originally designed for dynamic movement. That's what it was for when it was our ancestors. That's what they used it for. They used it for running, jumping, climbing. It was always used for something. We use it for sitting. And then we wonder why.
And maybe showing off occasionally.
Yeah, and twerking. But then, then we wonder why. Why are we having all this pain? Well, because our body really wasn't meant to sit all day. And our bodies definitely weren't meant to sit all day and be on a computer or a phone or everything forward. So now we take our upper back and we start to curve it forward. And our lower back, which we are really is having to take the whole brunt of almost everything because we have no muscle in our bottom. And then we try to just strengthen our stomach. We're just taking ourselves more out of balance. And then we're wondering why we're still having lower back problems. So there's
glute exercises as well. So
glute exercises are something you should definitely be doing. And women love working their bottoms, their butts, their booties. Men do not. And when I first brought it into the classes, the men really balked at it. They didn't like it. But I had to remind them, and it's out there, they can look it up. In the major athletes, NFL is one of them, they're really going to a lot of glute work because they're finding out that it's really protecting their athletes. So building that butt is not only for looks, there's a definite function there, and it's for our lower back. And it's also for dynamic too, for running faster and jumping higher and doing all those things. But if we only have a really strong stomach and we are not paying attention to our glute at all, there's a problem there. And the interesting thing is if your back is in pain, it's very hard to get your glute to engage. So what came first, the chicken or the egg?
The glute, the butt or the back?
The butt or the back.
As it were.
So that's another one that you have to really...
I want to talk a little bit, because if I'm going back to my college health science and biology class, not me. feel free. It's your show.
I'm just kicking.
We talk about aerobic exercise versus anaerobic exercise. If I'm not mistaken, weightlifting is anaerobic. Am I right? We're talking about depriving the bloodstream of oxygen in order to build muscle. But what about for heart patients who maybe have gone through? I know a guy who had a heart attack some time ago, and his doctor said, well, start exercise. So he went out and bought like a weight bench and everything. When we talk about that, is there something that, especially if you've had any type of heart situation, that maybe you should consult a doctor before you start doing free weights? Or are we talking about, if we're talking just about curls with 5, 10, 15 pounds, not a big deal?
Yeah, there's different kinds of weight training. There's that heavy kind of weight training where you see like the veins popping out of your head. And then there's that weight training where you see everybody staying in proper form and technique and really using their muscle. First of all, get your doctor's approval before you do anything. Really discuss with your doctor what you're about to do. They understand the heart better than anyone, and they know your certain circumstance. But I do want to say that once you know what your limitations are, that's when you really need to find a professional, because in medical school, they aren't taught very much about exercise.
Exactly.
And they aren't taught very much about nutrition.
They just usually say, get some. They don't usually, I've never had anybody go, well, you should do this. They're more like, get some exercise. You need to get out more.
And it's not their fault.
Yeah.
They're just not taught, and a lot of them they're going to become doctors. A lot of these men and women are putting all these hours in. They're not going to say, oh, you know what?
Let me become a fitness expert
let
too.
me go into fitness too. Now, some of them do, and they've done really well with that. But it's just not a norm. So you really want to find somebody that you can sit down with, that you can actually have an intelligent conversation about your body with. And, if you meet up with a trainer and you're going one-on-one with them and they really don't know much, and you're saying, here's my restrictions, here's my limitations, and you're kind of getting that, glassed over look, you might want to talk to another trainer or expert.
Well, that being said, that's a good question, is what should, if someone is getting to that point, I need help outside of what I'm doing, what should they look for in a trainer?
Yeah, first of all, always, and if somebody asks me for this, I am more than happy to give it to them. You want references. You want references when you go to a doctor. You want references when you get a painter. You want references for most of the things that we do, when you go to get your hair done. You want references about who you're going to, a professional that you're going to. So if you want to get references. So talk to that trainer and say, can you give me 3 references of people that you've worked with that have had the same back problem, heart problem, whatever you're talking about. And they might, call these people. And if they will not give you references, that's something you want to look at. Out of the top of my head, I could come up with 10 references to give out right now, and they would be happy to talk to a prospective client or a member or someone that wants to work with me. So references is number 1. And then just because they have 25 certifications in a notebook doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to have the experience that you specifically want. A lot of these certifications are weekend certifications. So what is their experience outside of those certifications? And if you're coming in, if they only have like these really high intensity workouts and they have 25 certificates in, but you really need someone that's going to start you on a very, very, very low level and kind of work up with you, that's something that you want to look at. You need to sit down and talk to them. You need to know that you're comfortable with them. You also need to know that you're in a partnership. There's teamwork here, and there's got to be communication, because I've taken different members and clients on, and I will notice that they just don't seem very happy, and they walk in and their attitude is just off with me. And I'll ask, is everything okay? Well, no, I really haven't liked this. And I go, okay, I've been having this pain in my knee. Okay, how long have you had that pain? Well, I've had it for about 3 weeks. Okay, we need to sit down and have a talk, because the very first time you felt that pain, you need to tell me. So there needs to be a communication, and you need to be responsible for that as the person hiring that trainer or going to that class. When you walk into that classroom, get to know who your teacher is. And are you someone that likes to go and stand in the back of the class and you want to be left alone? That's okay. But then you want to make sure on your own you know what you're doing. Or I always recommend, and this is completely against everything that comes with classes, I recommend, if you've never taken the class before, unless it's a Zumba class, get in the front. You want to be able to see your instructor. Zumba, please stand in the back. You'll get run over because they know those routines. And Zumba people and those dances, they're fabulous. Just stand in the back and just watch them. I'm in amazement, because I don't do that very much. And it's not something that I do week after week. But gosh, to see they have so much fun. And that is considered a cardio, by the way.
Right.
That's aerobic, not anaerobic.
Right.
So, that's another thing, though. If you're looking for something really fun and you're really not a gym rat kind of person, go into a Zumba class, take it for cardio. You're going to be with a lot of people, and then you need to know that. Are you more of a loner when you work out, or do you need those people around you to help and inspire you and keep you going? What kind of person are you? If you're kind of a loner, maybe you need to hire a trainer just to know what you're doing correctly, and then go from there. Are you someone that needs that group around you? Then you put yourself in those classes because you're going to get the motivation. So you got to know what kind of person you are. And then that's where, you're going to kind of get led to who you're supposed to be with. But don't be afraid to get references, number one. Talk to the people who've taken the class of this person. Maybe you like I said, I don't want anybody telling me what to do.
Yes.
I've literally had a client come to me as a trainer and say to me, just train me. Do not tell me what I'm working. I don't want to know what muscle I'm working. I don't know why I'm doing what I'm doing. Just you train me. And I will honestly tell them, I am not the trainer for you. I can't do that. That's not the way I do things. And if you are a trainer, and I'm talking to the trainers out there, they know, don't be afraid if someone does approach you and they really want what you aren't good at or don't agree with. Don't just take that to get a new client, because it's never going to work. So you want to know that trainer is on the same page with you, that there's a mutual agreement, that you have the same goals, that they have the experience and exactly what you need, and then you go from there.
So what's this list you have here?
Okay, this list is a fun list that I put together. And how much time do we have there, Justin? 3 minutes. Perfect. Okay. And I was just wondering if you knew what this was, if you were just coming off the streets, and I were to ask, some of these things we've already talked about, so I'm not going to talk about these again. But, do you know what HIIT is?
HIIT?
Yeah.
Not in the term of training or exercise. No.
Okay. It's high intensity interval training. It's a very hot word right now in fitness. And that's exactly what high intensity interval training. Now, it's funny. Everybody's using this word a lot. It's overused, actually, because most training is most training that you're going to do, there is high intensity, and it does come down. So high intensity is up here, interval is up and down. So it starts high, goes low, goes high, goes low, meaning it's anaerobic, and then it goes down to aerobic or rest. And it's in almost everything that we do. If you are doing a spin class, or you know what spin is?
I know it's a bicycle thing,
Inside
right?
bicycle. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Now spin actually is trademarked. So if you are not actually if you're not actually certified by spin, you have to call it indoor cycle. But so if you're taking indoor cycle or a spin class, there's intervals, and then you're breathing really hard, and then it comes down easy. That's a HIIT. That's it right there. Ta-da. So it's being used a lot right now, and everyone's saying, it's a special training. It really isn't. Most of us train like that anyway. It's in almost everything we do. Okay, do you know the difference between CrossFit and cross training?
Clearly, I don't.
Yeah, I know. Okay, the only difference is because a lot of people, I don't know, it's just something that gets crossed.
Exactly.
CrossFit is very competitive. You're competing against yourself and other people. It's very high intensity, very quick. And cross training is, let's say you're always, I am, and you're always coming to the gym and you're always resistance training. This is what you do. If you go take a cycle class and you've never taken it before, and now you've added that cycle class, you are cross-training because you're going across and training in something different than you've ever trained before. And
Gotcha.
that came from actually athletes. It was a very athletic term. And now it's gone mainstream. So that's something. And then, what about a circuit training? Do you know what a circuit training is?
I've heard of it.
Okay, circuit training. Circuit training is when you have a series of moves. Usually there are a lot of body weight moves, and you go from one to the other, right? From one to the next, to the next, to the next. And you get all the way through them, and then you rest for a certain amount of time, and you do it again. So you circuit through a lot of different movements. Now, most of these movements are weight-bearing. They're not load-bearing. Although now what we've done is we've taken it to a level where we started to load-bear some. So you load-bear one, and then one unloaded. And what I mean by load-bearing, I mean weights. So
Right.
that's circuit training. And then, let's see. Those are the three. I think we've talked, believe it or not, about almost every other one on this list. So you now know
For the
as much as I do.
uninitiated, now I can go out and start training people. Awesome. Okay.
There you go. You're ready.
I have no references, though,
yes.
to tell you.
So, and then there's
I've probably done more damage than I've ever done any good for anybody. So just keep that in mind. But I'm your guy if you need me.
in fitness. Oh yeah, that's not.
Yeah, fitness.
Sure. So we're going to take a break. We're going to be right back. This is Ellen Como on BalaCore Fitness Show here on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. Welcome back to BalaCore Fitness Show here on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. I'm here with George Cummings. I'm Ellen Como. We've been talking about fitness men, the way from a men's point of view, because
Right.
I'm always talking about a woman's point of view. And so it's great to have and hear what a man has to say about fitness. And I like having
Which I
somebody.
seem to have very little to say about fitness.
Well,
actually.
but you are the one that is you're going to be able, a lot of people are going to relate to you because more people don't work out than do work out, unfortunately. But you do have your healthy things in place. And I think that's a takeaway from this show for anybody, that you can live healthy without living to the extreme of healthy. You can be healthy and fit without being in the gym every day and eating everything perfect. There's a balance there.
Unless you like tofu, you don't necessarily have to
Yeah.
have it as part of your diet.
No, and actually, and for someone like me, going through menopause, tofu is probably not the best thing for us. So, yeah, and that's a whole other show. But yes, there you go.
But we were talking about what the spare tire.
Oh my gosh, and that's exactly what we decided. We have a couple minutes left. And the one thing, it's funny, with men it's called the spare tire, with women it's called the menopause. Now, with women it's always around our menopause years. I don't want to break it to you, George, but you go through andropause. You go through the same thing that women go through, you go through it in a male way.
I see.
But men never talk about it. They're not ready
getting
to
hot in
talk
here?
about it yet. Yeah, exactly. You haven't hot flashed yet?
I'm good.
You have different things that you go through than women. But how do you get rid of that spare tire or that menopause that we are dealing with as women and men? A lot of that has to do with our nutrition. So we really want to make sure that we're not eating within 3 hours of going to bed at night. Now, for men, I would never say that normally. But when they're in that age where they're starting to get that spare tire, that's coming more true to life. Like if I'm looking at a 30-year-old guy.
Stomach in right now.
There you go. I would never say that to a 30-year-old male, but I will say that to a 35-year-old female. But as we get in our 50s, 55, don't eat within 3 hours of going to sleep. The reason why is our body will be breaking down the food, and we need the body to rejuvenate our cells instead while we're sleeping.
Is that why some people have bad sleep patterns, do you think? Does that have anything to do with that?
Oh,
Wow.
yeah, definitely. Or poor women with their hot flashes. They just wake up in the middle
yeah.
of the night with a hot flash. That's a
Exactly.
whole other show. But yes, so that's one thing you can do. And also what we've been talking about this whole entire show, get moving. Is it like George is talking about? He walks. He's a walker. Walking is excellent. Don't be afraid don't think you're not doing enough if you're not walking. If you are walking, go ahead and add some resistance training to that, which will add a little bit more of your a higher interval, higher intensity. But if you're going to do that, you want to make sure it's proper form and technique. You just don't want to go walking into a gym and throwing weights around because you'll end up injured. Those are two things that you can do right off the bat. The other thing you can do is make sure you eat breakfast every morning within an hour of waking up, because what that does is it jumpstarts your metabolism. So those are a few things that you can do to try to get rid of. And the last one I'm going to give you is if you stick to mostly anti-inflammatory foods when you're eating. Because what I'm noticing, the spare tire and that menopause isn't as much fat as it is inflammation because of the changes going on in our body. So if you're eating foods that are anti-inflammatory, it'll help keep the inflammation in our body down. When that starts to happen, we're going to notice less joint pain, And we're also going to notice a flatter stomach. So there's a few things there. And also some stability work, core work, those kind of things also help. But you can do all the core work in the world. And if you're not doing these other things, it's not going to help. Also getting your sleep. Sleep is the number one thing in order for you to stay fit and lean. Sleep is actually the number one thing when I talk about health and fitness. Sleep is not a luxury. It is a priority for us. It's an absolute for us. This is when
Makes me cranky when I don't get enough sleep,
Exactly.
among other things.
Yes.
But then that leads to other like bad decisions of eating and things like that. So,
and brain, you can't think. You're not thinking straight.
Oh, you should hear my shows in the morning if I don't get enough
Yeah,
sleep.
if you don't
Trust
get enough
me.
sleep. And another thing comes with that too, because you're saying if you're not getting enough sleep and you're not thinking correctly, which happens, and you're tired, sometimes we eat to try to get energy, and we're always going to go for the sugary,
That's right.
fast, quick energy kind of foods. Those are never the foods that we want for us. So, but I thank you so much for sitting in with me today.
You bet. This
Yes,
is fun.
it was fun, right?
It just so happened. I
We
was
got
in the
to hang
neighborhood.
out.
So cool. So go ahead.
Yeah, if you need headshots or you need some photography, call this
stop.
guy, George Cummings.
Or just listen to
He's
the morning.
amazing. Yes, he's amazing. I had a photo shoot with him, and I had so much fun. And to be able to walk out of a photo shoot and say, that was so much fun. I had a great time. We got great pictures. So here he is right
Well, thank
here.
you.
But he sat in with me today, and I'm so glad we got to hear a guy's perspective. And you're going to reach a lot of other men, the men that aren't in the gym all day, the ones that really, really need to hear this the most.
Exactly.
So thank you for spending the day with me. And for everyone else, you can reach me at 661-312-3130 on Facebook, Ellen Greenberg Como, or ellencomofitness.com. Thank you for listening today. I want everyone to go out and have a healthy day today. Bye-bye.